To the perineum. So if you make a person lie down like this, okay, and if you examine the parts, you can understand the boundaries of the perineum. Anteriorly, you have the symphysis pubis. Then you have anterolaterally the ischiopubic rami, which extend to the ischial tuberosities laterally. You can remember it like this. When you sit down, the pressure is actually exerted on your ischial tuberosities. Okay, so that is why they are present laterally. You can see here. Here you have your ischial tuberosities. Okay, and then finally from the sacrotuberous ligament, which forms the posterolateral border, you finally end up at the coccyx, which is a posterior limit. Okay, this is your pelvic outlet. It is diamond shaped. So if you draw an imaginary line from with that connects both the ischial tuberosities, you will get an anterior urogenital triangle and a posterior anal triangle. Okay, if you look at the posterior anal triangle, you will have the anus in the middle, and on each side you will have a wedge-shaped fossa called ischiorectal fossa. Okay, so coming to the ischiorectal fossa, laterally, as you can see here, see, we are talking about the pelvis, right? So the ischiorectal fossa is present somewhat like this. Okay, so laterally you have the obturator foramen. From the inside, the obturator foramen is covered by the obturator internus and the fascia that covers it. So that is why the lateral boundary is the obturator internus and its fascia. So you can see right here, this is the obturator internus and its fascia. Medially, you have a muscle of the pelvic diaphragm. Pelvic diaphragm is formed by two muscles, levator ani and the coccygeus. Okay, so medially, the roof-like structure you see right here, it is formed by levator ani. See, fascia covering the obturator internus is the obturator fascia. Fascia that covers the levator ani, you call it the anal fascia. Okay. So that is about the medial and lateral boundaries. In front, you will have the perineal membrane. So if you look at the pelvis like this, in front, if this is the pubic symphysis, you will have the perineal membrane. Okay, that is the base. Okay, posterior boundary of the perineal membrane. Okay, coming to the apex, where see muscles cannot extend upwards. Okay, laterally you have the obturator internus and medially you have the levator ani. Muscles cannot extend upward, so the fascia covering the muscle extends upwards and it forms the apex. Okay, so it is formed by the merging of both obturator fascia and the anal fascia. Okay, and now coming to the other parts, so base, posteriorly, yeah, coming to the posterior extent, we have the gluteus maximus muscle. So posteriorly, the apex, it reaches the level of the sacrotuberous ligament and the gluteus maximus muscle. Okay, so lateral wall, medial wall, and yeah, the medial wall, it is not only formed by the levator ani, it is also formed by the see, you have the rectum here, right? Okay, so it is also formed by the longitudinal muscle coats of the rectum medially, and also the external anal sphincter. So that is about the boundaries of that. And coming to the recesses, the fossa, which is wedge shaped, it also has recesses. So anteriorly, recess extends to towards the pubic symphysis, and posteriorly it extends towards the sacrotuberous ligament, deep to the sacrotuberous ligament. And also there is a horseshoe recess that connects the two ischial fossae behind the anal canal. Okay, like this. This is the horseshoe recess. Now coming to the spaces and canals of the fossa. So here, as I said, you have the anal fascia that covers the levator ani, and from that there is an extension called the perianal fascia. In the lateral aspect of the ischiorectal fossa, you have the pudendal canal. All right. Till the pudendal canal, from the anal fascia, you have the perianal fascia. The perianal fascia divides this entire thing into two spaces: the perianal space and also the deep ischioanal space. Deep ischioanal space and the superficial perianal space. So perianal space, it is superficial, and the fat, it is arranged very tightly. Okay, so because the fat is arranged tightly in form of small lobules, and it is formed by complete septa, so any infection will cause extra pressure rise, and that will be painful. So perianal space is painful, any infection. And then coming to the ischioanal space, it is entirely opposite. Incomplete septa are there, fat is arranged loosely, so any infection is not that painful. Now, you also have the lunate fascia, which is the fascia that you see arching over the ischioanal fat. Okay, it begins at the pudendal canal laterally, and then it merges medially with the fascia covering the deep part of the external anal sphincter. So this fascia divides the ischianal space into the suprategmental space above the fascia and tegmental space below the fascia. Coming to pudendal canal, it is present laterally. Okay, we've talked about it. Coming to the contents of the ischianal fossa. So main thing is you have the ischianal pad of fat. Then you have the inferior rectal nerves and vessels. You have the pudendal canal and its contents. You have the inferior rectal nerve. See, it is supplying the sphincter. So you need to remember this content. You also have the posterior scrotal or posterior labial vessels and nerves. You have the perineal branch of the fourth sacral nerve and also perforating cutaneous branches of S2 and S3. Okay. Now coming to the next part. Okay, we need to understand the urogenital triangle. Okay, so what are the structures? We understood the anal triangle. Now let's understand the urogenital triangle. So what are the structures covering it from before backwards? You have skin. Then you have the superficial fatty layer of the superficial fascia of the abdomen, which is also called Camper's fascia. The deep membranous layer of the superficial fascia, which is called Scarpa's fascia. But as it enters the perineum, it changes its name and becomes strong. It becomes fascia collis. Okay. Then coming to the contents of the superficial perineal pouch. Okay. So skin, Camper's fascia, Scarpa's fascia, then the contents of the superficial pouch, then the contents of the deep pouch, and then finally we have the superficial layer of the urogenital diaphragm. Diaphragm is the final partition. Okay, so coming to the skin, in case of males, we have the median raphe. Okay, as you see right here, we have the median raphe, and in females, however, there is a gap. Okay, for the vestibule. Now coming to fascia collis, it is continuous in front with the dartos muscle of the scrotum, fascia penis, and also the fascia scarpa from the abdomen. Behind it is continuous with the perineal membrane and the superficial transverse perineum muscle, around the superficial transverse perineum muscles. Now coming to structures piercing the fascia collis, we have the perineal branch of the posterior femoral cutaneous nerve. So perineal branch, and also in females the urethra and the vagina, they pierce the fascia collis. Coming to the superficial perineal pouch, before we get on to that, we need to understand how these things are arranged. So if you see this structure here, this ischiopubic rami, on the inner aspect, if you see, you have three attachments of three membranes. Okay, so what are those three attachments? From above to downwards, or see, downwards thing is the superficial thing, right? So if you make the person lie down like this in the lithotomy position, the lowermost part is what you see superficially. So superficially you have the fascia collis, then you have perineal membrane, and then you have urogenital diaphragm deep to it. So this space between fascia collis and perineal membrane is a superficial perineal space or the pouch, and space between perineal membrane and urogenital diaphragm is a deep perineal membrane or pouch. Okay. So this is a superficial perineal pouch. It is closed on all sides except at the front. This is important because when there is rupture of the urethra, okay, during any accident, the urine extravasates into the superficial inguinal pouch, which communicates with the superficial perineal pouch. Okay, so anteriorly there is a communication. It is open with the superficial inguinal pouch. Okay, so that is why urine can extravasate from the peritoneal parietal peritoneum, the lateral walls and all that. It can extravasate even into the axilla. Okay, so boundaries, coming to the boundaries, on each side for both superficial and deep we have the ischiopubic rami. Okay, in front it is continuous with the superficial inguinal space, it is open. The perineal ligament, we need to understand that it is thickened in front to form the transverse perineal ligament. At the back, perineal, see, if you take a sideways view of the same thing, you have the perineal membrane in the middle. At the back, the perineal membrane divides into upper and lower lamina. In the front, it is thickened to form the transverse perineal ligament. In the back, it divides. The upper lamina, it fuses with the superficial layer of the urogenital diaphragm. The lower lamina or the superficial lamina, it fuses with the fascia collis. Okay, so posteriorly, it is closed. Coming to the contents of the superficial perineal pouch. See, superficial pouch has muscles, vessels and nerves, okay, and also other structures. Coming to the muscles, when you talk about transverse perineal muscles, you have superficial transverse perineal and deep transverse perineal. Deep is located in the deep pouch, superficial is located in the superficial pouch. Along with that, you also have ischiocavernosus and bulbospongiosus. Coming to the vessels, you have three on each side. That is, you have a pair of posterior scrotal arteries and a transverse perineal artery. You have transverse perineal muscles, so the corresponding artery, and also posterior scrotal arteries. Because you have posterior scrotal arteries, you also have a pair of posterior scrotal nerves and also a perennial branch of the posterior femoral cutaneous nerve. If you remember, we said that this pierces the fascia collis. And also the other contents include the crus penis and also the bulb of the penis. Okay, an important applied aspect is the extravasation of urine, because anteriorly it is open and continuous with the superficial inguinal pouch. Okay, but however the urine, it cannot extravasate below the white line of Holden in the thigh, below Holden's line, because that is where both the superficial and deep layers are continuous with the fascia lata of the thigh, so urine cannot extravasate down this point. Coming to the deep perineal pouch, it is a space between the perineal membrane and the urogenital diaphragm. Okay, now before that, let us discuss the perineal membrane. It is like a triangle with the truncated apex. So in males, it is very tough due to the attachment of the root of the penis and the perineal muscles. Coming to the attachment, it is attached to the lower ridge on the, see, we discussed that there is the ischiopubic ramus, so it is attached to the lower ridge there on the inner aspect. So in the front, it becomes thickened and strong to form the transverse perineal ligament. Anteriorly, this continues with the superior fascia of the urogenital diaphragm. So if you remember, we discussed that the superficial perineal pouch, it is open anteriorly with the superficial inguinal pouch. But this thing, it is, the deep pouch is closed. Okay, because the superficial layer of the urogenital diaphragm fuses anteriorly with the perineal membrane. Okay. So behind it again splits into two layers. We've already discussed this. Two layers or lamina. And then coming to structures piercing the perineal membrane. Okay, let's start from the base to the apex. As I said, the apex is truncated, it thickens to form the transverse perineal ligament. Coming to the base, near the base we have the posterior scrotal vessels and the posterior scrotal nerve. Okay, in the middle we have the membranous urethra that pierces this. Okay, in females you also have the vagina nearer to the base. Okay, around the membranous urethra in males you have the ducts of the bulbourethral glands. Okay, after that you also have two more arteries, that is deep artery of penis, artery to the bulb of the penis, and in front you have the dorsal artery of penis. Near the dorsal artery you have dorsal vein, and around the dorsal vein you have the dorsal nerves of the penis. Okay, these are the structures that pierce the perineal membrane. Coming to the deep perineal pouch, in front you have the transverse perineal ligament and the superior layer of the urogenital diaphragm that fuse. Okay, behind it blends with the superior layer of the urogenital diaphragm. Okay, so coming to the muscles in the deep pouch, we know that superficial transverse perineal muscle is in the superficial pouch, so deep transverse perineal muscle is in the deep pouch. Okay, and also we know that the perineal membrane is pierced by the membranous urethra. So membranous urethra, the urethra has three parts, right? So prostatic urethra, membranous urethra. Membranous urethra, it is a content of the deep perineal pouch. And then as soon as it enters into the superficial pouch and into the penis, it becomes the penile or spongy urethra, which is a content of superficial pouch. Okay, so that is why when the membranous urethra is in the deep pouch, it is surrounded by a sphincter urethrae muscle. So the muscle also becomes a content of the deep pouch. So sphincter urethrae and deep transverse perineal muscles, they are the muscular contents of the deep pouch, and they are supplied by muscular branches from the perineal nerve. These two muscles, they also form the urogenital diaphragm, so it is important to remember these two muscles. Coming to the vessels, we have internal pudendal artery and its three branches, that is, we discussed them piercing the membrane. First, deep artery of the penis, like this, and dorsal artery to the bulb of the penis, and we have the dorsal artery to the penis, then the vein here surrounded by the nerves, like that. Okay, nerves, we have the dorsal nerve of penis. In females, the vagina is also a content of the deep pouch. Coming to the urogenital diaphragm, it is a musculofacial partition across the pubic arch, okay, like this, across the pubic arch, that separates the pelvic cavity from the anterior part of the pelvic outlet. Okay, so the penis, if it is extending like this, it is separating the urinary structures from the genitalia and the pelvic structures. Okay, it is separating the pelvic cavity from the urogenital triangle. So urogenital diaphragm separates the pelvic cavity from the urogenital triangle. Now coming to the formation, it is formed by sphincter urethrae and deep transverse perineal muscles, and also their fascia above and below. Above, that is deep to it, they have the superior layer of the urogenital diaphragm, and inferiorly they have the perineal membrane, which is also called the inferior facial layer of the urogenital diaphragm. Now coming to the sphincter urethrae, It has superficial fibers and deep fibers. Deep fibers, they interlace amongst themselves. Superficial fibers, they take origin from the transverse perineal ligament and the inner ischiopubic ramus, and they attach to the perineal body. So if this is the pubic symphysis, this is the ischiopubic ramus. It takes origin from the transverse perineal ligament and also inner ischiopubic ramus, and it attaches to the perineal body. Okay. And coming to structures that pierce the urogenital diaphragm, we have the urethra and the vagina. So below the urogenital diaphragm, we have the contents of superficial pouch. Above it, we have the apex of prostate in males and the neck of the bladder in females. Okay, this is the urogenital diaphragm. So above it, we have bladder. Okay, like this you can see, and the neck of the and the prostate and the neck of the bladder. Okay, and also above it, it is related to the anterior recess of the ischiorectal fossa and also to the anterior fibers of the pelvic diaphragm. Okay, if this is the pelvic outlet, the pelvic diaphragm, it covers it like this. Okay, so it is also related to the anterior fibers of the pelvic diaphragm. Behind it, you have the ischiorectal fossa and its contents. So coming to the action of the urogenital diaphragm, which is also called the triangular ligament in females. So it supports the prostate and the bladder because above it they are located. In females, it constricts the vagina, it fixes the perineal body, and the sphincter urethrae exerts out the last drop of urine after the urinary bladder has performed its nervous function of exerting out the last drop of urine. Final topic we have here is pelvic diaphragm, which is formed by levator ani and coccygeus. Levator ani again has iliococcygeus and pubococcygeal parts, and the coccygeus is actually the ischiococcygeus proper. Okay, so just know the basic insertions. The iliococcygeus, one half arises from the posterior part of the tendinous arch and another half from the pelvic surface of the ischial spine. They insert onto the last two pieces of coccyx and also the anococcygeal raphe. The pubococcygeus, it takes origin from the pelvic part of the pubis and also from the arcuate line, and then it inserts in 4 parts in females and 3 parts in males. That is puborectalis part. Puborectalis is important because the puborectal sling of this levator ani muscle, it actually holds the rectum in place and it is responsible for a curvature also. And puboanalis part, if it surrounds the anus, the pubococcygeus proper, and also if it encircles the vagina in females, it is also the pubovaginalis part. And just look at the pelvic diaphragm. The last two topics that remain in the entire perineum part of BDC are the nerve and artery. That is, you have this pudendal nerve and the internal pudendal artery. Okay, just go through them. That's it.